right, it is 9 o'clock. I'm going to call to order the DuPage County Public Works Committee regular meeting for Tuesday, November 7th, 2023. Can I get a roll call, please?
Chair Garcia.
Here.
Vice Chair Ozak.
Here.
Member Cahill.
Here.
Member Desart. Member Galassi.
Here.
Member Zig.
Here.
I don't have any chairwoman's remarks. So we have a full agenda. Is there any public comment for today?
No.
Okay, perfect. Looking for approval of the minutes, 23-3541 Public Works Committee meetings of the regular meeting of Tuesday, October 17th, 2023.
Second.
Got a motion and a second. Any discussion? All in favor? Any
Aye.
opposed? Motion carries. And this is a time that's really fantastic. Everyone should do this. I'm so excited that we at the county do this. I'm going to let you speak about our recipient of the Length of Service Award, Dwayne Kozak. So Dwayne can come forward, please. Want to come up, Sean, too? Perfect.
Absolutely. So Dwayne Kozak, he's been with us for 20 years. Such an important part of our department. He oversees our underground division. So you don't hear from Dwayne very much, but the work he does out in the field is absolutely critical. He not only so he oversees all the sewer and water underground division, but he also provides a lot of assistance for stormwater. They're stationed at the same area. So the mentorship he does for our new employees coming in, the direction he gives, it is truly, he's 24/7. There is no time that he doesn't get a call. Christmas doesn't make a difference because he's the first responder out there. Everything, whenever tornadoes, floods, him and his staff are always out there. And he has represented the county well for 20 years. I can't tell you how much I appreciate what you've done for the county, what you've done for the residents. I just want to say thank you. Thank you.
With everything you just said, Nick, and I just want to offer a thank you as well. I can tell you going into the holiday season, I am so thankful to have somebody like Dwayne on staff because pretty much every Thanksgiving, every Christmas, we get a phone call for a water main break, a backup, something. Dwayne's available 24 hours a day. I've called him in the middle of the night. His crews call him in the middle of the night. He's always available. So terrific person to have in our department for sure. Thank you.
Cool. Thank you.
What I do, and just every day is different. So it's what kept me here this long, and great group of people. But just it's a home. It's a second home. Thank you.
Oh, that's wonderful.
Thank you.
Thank you.
We'll talk to you later with the water commissioner.
Okay, but again, we couldn't do, Public Works is run by wonderful employees like Dwayne, and be thankful you have water. There is a water break, so we couldn't have done it without you. So, thank you so much. Okay, moving on to the Water Commission resolutions, 7A, looking for a recommendation for, did you want to do a discussion on it first?
I'm going to start off. So
Okay.
the two items, 7A and 7B, are two very, very important agreements that we wanted to have special attention to. Because in all of our careers, we will not see it again because they come around every 40 years. So the last one, when the county transitioned to Lake Michigan, is now expiring early next year. We have spent a tremendous amount of time. The Water Commission has been on this for years, and we're very lucky to have as one of the members of our board, the chair of the Water Commission. So I'm going to actually turn this over to Jem to introduce our guest and a couple comments.
Thanks, Nick. As you said, this is the first time the original contract with the city of Chicago and the contract with our vendors, all the municipalities, is up at the same time. Our customers are first, the city's second. We've been negotiating openly with both for the last 5 years. It's written in the contract. You have to start negotiations 5 years prior to the expiration of the contract. We formed a work group with our municipal partners, Public Works. Nick actually sat on it. It was great. It stopped for a little bit during COVID because of COVID. Everybody was doing stuff. It came back. So basically, the contract to our customers, all the municipalities, is not changing much. We redlined a lot of stuff that didn't pertain anymore to a lot of things that were gone. But that's the first step. The second step is then with the city of Chicago. This is more complex and has been complex for 5 years. I've been openly negotiating with them, and we have gotten really nowhere. This is the third mayor that we've talked to about it. The Lightfoot administration didn't talk to us at all. Even though we had multiple meetings, we have a timeline of meetings we've had and all that. And again, just so you know, I mean, this year we're gonna pay the city of Chicago $120 million for one of their largest revenue sources the city gets. And the water has almost doubled in the last 12 years what we pay. And so it's an ongoing negotiation. The thing that has changed negotiation is Joliet has come in and getting water from the city of Chicago. They put Joliet on, they're supposed to come on 2030, which I doubt will happen, but they put them on a new cost of service model. Right now, we pay the same amount that the city of Chicago pays their residents. They can't pay any more, they can't, we get favored nation, whatever they pay, we get to pay. The problem is they gave Joliet a new model. It's called a cost of service model. It's the new thing that they have and, you know, for water services. Basically, you pay for what the water costs you to pump. Okay, they gave us figures in 2019 with their cost of service models. That's basically telling us, and they told us they're overcharging us by $50 million a year. So we've been on them about, okay, we need to get that Joliet service model in our contract. They won't do it before 2030 because we have a favored nation status in the contract, which a lot of the other people who buy water from the city of Chicago have that saying that would trigger it. We all know the city needs revenue. They're not gonna cut their revenue that much. So it's been ongoing. We, with staff, with Paul, we'll talk about it. Our biggest asset's the Lexington pumping station, which the city runs for us. It only pumps to the city, it only pumps to DuPage. So our line with the water commission was, well, if we're gonna overpay by that much for the next 10 years, we want control of the facility. It only pumps to us. If it goes down, it's a major problem, right? So that's not going well. We've been back and forth with them. Right now, the best thing, they did give us a preliminary contract, which wasn't as good, didn't have the safeguards it had in as a Joliet contract. What we're gonna do right now is we have a chance to renew the current contract, which we're gonna do. It's better terms for everybody. And that's, you know, I can't do a cost of service model if they can't tell me what the cost of service is. They won't tell us that. Lexington, they neglect the one facility. We went out there, there's $16 million worth of repairs that need to be done immediately for us to get water. We owe half of that, that's $8 million. And then they came out with a service, or their assessment, what they call it, a condition assessment that they're gonna bid for that they're gonna do for the next 2 years on the entire city of Chicago water system. So from the cribs in the city to the Jardin to Sawyer to all the pumping stations to everything, they're gonna come back. And we know what that's gonna do. If it was just $16 million at Lexington, you can imagine all their facilities, you're talking probably billions of dollars, which then will go in that cost of service model. So that number they're giving us of $250 for 1,000 gallons is gonna be expanded, and we can't take that chance of us not giving that. So what we're gonna do is we're gonna renew the contract. Now it's just the term of how long. The term right now we're doing is 15 to 20 years. The other part of this is that last year when we were getting nowhere with the city of Chicago, we just can't sit there. So we commissioned a study to find out if we can get water elsewhere. If we can go to Lake Michigan ourselves. We commissioned a study, it came back from an engineering firm, and we can't. We're 3 different routes. There's a north route, a central route through the city, and a southern route through southern suburbs in Indiana. We looked at it. It's a big project. In the meantime, 2 other water commissions have come to us and said, we'd like to join you. Northwest Jowell, which supplies northern Cook County, the suburbs, Schaumburg, Elk Grove, Hanover Park, Streamwood, all of those areas, Hoffman Estates, that, and then Lake County Water Commission, it right now gets their water from Evanston. So that project would go around, would come in at Glencoe, we've already talked to, would give us, right, come in, we'd have our own facility. Be a big step, but as we're looking at it over time, we'd probably pay less money, we'd have control of our own future on it. It's a huge undertaking, and this is a once in a lifetime decision you have to make. It's not gonna affect me or you or anybody else. It's gonna affect our children and our children's children, just like they did 40 years ago. And the problem is the city of Chicago the solution for regionalization of water? I don't think so. I mean, I think it's an issue. And so that's where we're at right now. So we have to, so we've had numerous meetings with the municipal members. Nick's been at them. The chair was at the last one. This is where we have to go. So what we're doing is an agenda right now to go between, we haven't figured out. We're still negotiating if it's gonna be 15 to 20 years that we're gonna renew the contract for. And then if we do, it gives us about a 2 or 3 year period to figure out if we can actually get this project up and running and then build it within that time frame, which should take a little over 15 years. So,
Jen?
and then, yeah, I know if you want to have Paul do his presentation, then we can do questions.
Yeah, I would think there's a lot of questions might be answered in his presentation.
This is Paul Mayer, General Manager. Paul's been with us a little over a year and a half now.
Thank you for having me, and we do appreciate this opportunity to address each of you to let you know where we're at this important step. You can go to the first slide if you don't mind. As Jim mentioned, 40 years ago, there were water quality and quantity. Really 50 and 60 years ago, the idea of the County Water Commission came about. And 40 years ago, the mayors and county board came with this really grand ambition to build a water commission for the state to serve the communities and the county residents within DuPage County, and took about 10 years for that system to be built. We've now been pumping water for 30 years, and over that period of time, we pumped nearly 1 trillion gallons of water to the consumers in DuPage County. So as Jim mentioned, our contract with the customers is up this year. So we have 28 customers, governing bodies, and 3 private parties that serve a variety of different areas, including Argonne National Labs is one of our customers as well, all of whom adhere to one contract, a contract between us and all the customers. And so we did recognize it was going to be a little bit of a cumbersome process to update that. And so the approach that we utilized to revise the contract is we created a steering committee of willing participants from the governing bodies, including Nick, who was one of those, and 7 other municipalities that participated in that process, to go through the contract line by line, strip out things which no longer applied, adjust things that needed to be clarified, and make sure that the contract will serve the commission and all the consumers well for the next 40-year period. A little bit about our system. We have 84 delivery points where we serve all the municipalities you see here. It's difficult to see from where you're at. The yellow dots are the service points. Most communities have more than one. The county, of course, has more than one as well. There's 284 meters there. Our average pumping capacity right now is about 75 million gallons a day. Pumping capacity of our plant is about 200 million gallons a day, so we have plenty of excess capacity. And as I mentioned, over 30 years, we pumped nearly 1 trillion gallons of Lake Michigan water to the consumers in DuPage County. If you could go to the next slide. A little bit about the steering committee. The steering committee has been meeting for several years to go through the contract, as I said, line by line, and make sure that what's being presented will serve all parties well. Going forward, we wanted to avoid a scenario where we were working with 28 village legal counsel to go through it. So the legal review is performed by the DuPage County State's Attorney concurrently with the Naperville legal staff and the commission attorney. As the final step, ultimately, the document now is recommended for approval by all parties. Each of the 28 governing bodies and the 3 private entities have to approve the contract before the commission can take action on it. So we have to be the last step. Commission intends to act on that contract at our January meeting. So we're asking all of the other parties subject to that contract to act on it in November and December. And that's why you're seeing it now. If you could go to the next slide. A little bit about some of the modifications, and I'm not going to go through this in detail, but I'll hit some of the primary things that are consistent throughout the document. Of course, originally the document had to do with the original construction, so there was a lot in the original contract about how the construction was going to be funded, what happens if it was never completed. And so all of that language has been stripped out because, of course, the project is complete, that service is paid off. And so all of the elements in the original contract that had to do with those things have been removed for consistency. We also had original charter customers, and then we had subsequent customers. DuPage County is actually one of the subsequent customers in the contract. And under the new contract, all current customers will become contract customers, and future customers will become subsequent customers. So that's something that is consistent throughout as well. There was some sort of language regarding minimum volumes that had to be purchased, which are not appropriate any longer from an environmental perspective. Those elements have been removed as well. to update the document to current accepted standards. If you could go to the next slide, please. A little bit about the Chicago contract as well. The customer contract between the commission and the customers expires in February. The contract between the commission and Chicago expires in March. And so there, Jim is looking nonplussed in that picture. That's because that's an inspection of the Lexington pump station, which the commission built as part of the original project, but under the contract with Chicago, it is now under the ownership and control and operational control of the city of Chicago, despite the fact that it only serves the commission and the commission's customers. And we are dissatisfied with the maintenance of that facility. As Jim mentioned, there's $16 million of infrastructure maintenance, deferred maintenance, which is imminently required and needs to be done there. And so one of our bargaining positions, primary bargaining positions with the city of Chicago over the last several years is cost of service parity with the city of Joliet. Their rate would be about half of what we currently pay. As Jim mentioned, we pay about $120 million a year. That goes up every year. And Chicago, by their own math, has computed the value of that commodity at $60 million, which is more consistent with what Joliet would pay on a per gallon rate. So cost of service parity with the city of Joliet model, immediate implementation of cost of service methodology and a benchmark number so that it can't be manipulated in the future, and improve operations control over Lexington. We continue to negotiate those positions with the city of Chicago. Even after the extension takes place, we will continue to negotiate with the city of Chicago. There's a new administration that's only been in place for several months now, that's still really getting their feet under them. And so we will continue that effort in good faith so long as we can continue to make progress. Go to the next slide, please. The reason it's important is because you can see this is a 10-year trend of the rates from the city of Chicago. And again, we are purchasing a commodity from the city of Chicago. The original infrastructure system utilized the existing Chicago treatment and transmission infrastructure, which is the gap that Jim's now mentioning. There are other alternatives for replacing that. So we buy a commodity from the city of Chicago. We pass it on to the DuPage County and the DuPage County municipalities. The cost for that 1,000 gallons in 2012 was $2.51. This year is $4.54. We expect it to go up to about $4.75. So it's nearly doubled over that 10-year period of time, during which there's been no infrastructure investment. There's been no change to the labor pool. The infrastructure asset chain that serves us is the same as it was in 2012. Price is doubled. That price, if you go to the next slide, gets passed on to the consumers. You can see here the blue bar in this stack bar chart is the Chicago cost, and the green bar is the DuPage Water Commission margin. So we're fortunate that we've been able to reduce that over time. Our piece was $1.03 in 2015. We reduced that over a period of time to 85 cents in 2021. And held that at that lower margin since that period of time. So despite the fact that the Water Commission maintains infrastructure all across the county, pumps water all across the county, you can see that our cost as far as the total cost of service is a very small percentage. Really the largest percentage, largest beneficiary financially is the city of Chicago with this elevated water rate. You can go to the next slide, please. And so that prompted us to look at what other alternatives are there for the Water Commission. What's the best disposition of that $120 million that we collect from DuPage County and DuPage County communities? Is it to provide it to the city of Chicago to buy a commodity from them? Or are there other alternatives that should be considered, could be considered? And so we did commission a water study, a source water study, an alternative source water study, still to Lake Michigan, of course, but replacing the piece that we're paying Chicago to provide currently, which is to run the cribs, run the treatment plant, pump it to the west side of Chicago. Is there a way that the commission and others could participate to replace that remaining piece so that the vision that was contemplated by the mayors and the county 40 and 50 years ago would complete all the way from the source to the communities? And what that study indicates is that there are feasible alternatives, both financially and technically feasible alternatives, working potentially with other regional partners to really build a regional system, including NSM Jawa, Northwest Cook County, and the Northwest Water Commission, which is Southern Lake County, as Jim mentioned. And this will continue to be under evaluation in the coming months and years as well. Next slide, please. So the recommendation from our board regarding the Chicago contract, and there's two pieces of things that need to be acted on by all the municipalities, by the county, and then ultimately by the Water Commission, is to extend the current contract under the current terms with the city of Chicago for a period of 15 to 20 years. 15 to 20 years is the range that we expect it would take to build a new source water project, should we advance that concept. And the consulting team is working through what's the exact number, which is why you see a window in front of you. Our board doesn't need to act on that until February. And so by February, we'll have a handle on what's the exact number, 17 years, 18 years. We're asking for a little leeway from the boards of the municipal bodies as we go through that final step. And that will retain the current favored nations clause that we have, which will allow us to begin to pay Joliet's lower cost if and when they take water, and retain several other conditions which are more favorable in the original contract than what we see Chicago's presented us so far. The last slide, please. And so that brings us to the legislative activities that have to be sort of queued up and taken in this sequence, one of which is the approval, of course, between the customer contract, between the county and the commission. That has to happen, and then ultimately our board has to act on it in January, so that gives November and December for the municipal and county bodies to act. And then concurrence, our contract with you requires concurrence as to our methodology with extending the Chicago contract. Again, the recommendation there is to extend it between 15 and 20 years. And so those are the two action items that you see before you today, and I'm happy to answer any questions if there are.
Okay, I'm gonna start with Member Chaplin, who former Water Commission member, I'm assuming.
So thank you so much for the presentation and bringing this forward today. So to build our own system is going to cost between 1.5 and $2 billion. It would be a duplicate pretty much of Chicago's system, right? Okay.
Chicago system will be 75 years old.
Right,
but
75
it will
years
be
old, but-
replacing current.
But you know, Chicago system, I understand, is like a world-renowned water system. It's very good. So we would be duplicating those efforts, correct?
It would be duplicated.
Yes. Okay, duplicated infrastructure. Secondly, according to what I've read on this, Chicago billed the DuPage Water Commission $113 million in 2022. DuPage County billed our customers $133 million in 2022. So we're also, you know, increasing to our customers as well. And then the municipalities are increasing to the end users, us. And this was my issue on the Water Commission, and it's my issue today with this. There is no protection for the end user. So if we're going to do cost of service, which I think is great, and I think from what I understand, S&P and Fitch pointed out that the city has pledged to transition all customers to the cost of service rate when switching, when Joliet comes on. So when Joliet comes on, all of the customers will be paying the cost of service rate. So that'll be a benefit to everybody. And, you know, then the Water Commission should pass that cost of service on to their customers. And then the municipality should pass that cost of service on to the residents, right? Because we've seen our water rates in DuPage County explode. You know, I also think that, you know, we just went into this regional approach with our chair about economic development and things like that. And if we're want to work cooperatively, I strongly suggest we continue to work with the state of Chicago, strongly suggest we work to try to somehow get control of Lexington and be able to maintain that, see what we can do with, you know, make some deal with them. But I really think, you know, and then I heard water might come from Whiting, Indiana. Absolutely not. I mean, if we're going to do this, water from Whiting, Indiana is like BP Amoco, like dumps right in there. And I would suggest going to the northern part of the lake, but absolutely not Whiting, Indiana.
We have no Indiana.
What?
We're looking at Glencoe. We're not looking at.
Well, Whiting, Indiana was in the report. So, you know, I mean, there's lots of concerns. I just think that, you know, it would be beneficial to the people of the county and the whole region, you know, to look at this on a holistic approach, what is the best way to get water to all people in the region for the lowest cost, and continue our partnerships, with the city. Like I said, I think, that we really need to ask, how do we get water to everybody for the cheapest cost? I mean, I appreciate all the work into this, but for the 1.2 billion to have a duplicate system just doesn't seem, and then can we even get permission from the Great Lakes Compact to do this? I mean, there's a lot of, and I know there was a lot of political things that were blacked out of this report, but I mean, this is not going to be an easy feat, and it just seems like a duplication of something that's already there. So
And I
appreciate all the work.
appreciate the comments, Member Chaplin, and
yeah,
I
so
don't want to
thank
cut
you.
you off, but I know that we have lots more questions, and it's 9:24, and we have like 2 minutes to get a lot of more work done. So really quickly going down the row here, Member Cahill, did you have something? Member Ozog?
Can you explain a little bit more about why Joliet is getting quote unquote a better deal? And I also want to say too, we are all really lucky to have Lake Michigan because my sister lives in Colorado, et cetera. When you go west, things are just very dire. So we are fortunate to have this problem. But
So
what exactly is it, just to bring a new customer on board, or what are they up to?
I think so. As was mentioned, we all are really beneficiaries of the fact that Joliet has pushed for, required when their contract came through, the cost of service model to be in their contract. So cost of service model is the industry standard for costing water. Right now, Chicago has an arbitrary base rate that everybody pays. One consumer in an apartment in the city of Chicago pays the same per gallon of water as DuPage Water Commission does. Everybody pays the same, and everybody is tied to this favored nations clause. So if and when Joliet does take water under this revised rate, everybody benefits because we have the favored nations clause, which allows us to essentially tie ourselves to that rate.
Okay.
And ultimately will compel Chicago to begin to put everybody on that equation. The rate is not uniform, the equation is uniform. So what it does is it takes your asset chain, which for Joliet will be much longer than ours, and it applies depreciation value and a replacement value to that, and then it yields a cost. So costs will be variable throughout the region based on your asset chain. That was capitulated, if you will, from Chicago in order to land Joliet as a new customer,
Okay.
but is not tied until their completion date of when they will take water, which is targeted to 2030. Although I think that's a little ambitious, it's probably likely to take a couple of years.
Okay, thank you.
Any other quick questions here, only because we're running out of time, I don't want to lose the quorum. Member Lassie?
So the commodity chart that you showed, can you just, I don't have any background in this, can you just explain, is this just a Chicago commodity increase, or is this tied to inflation, or what is causing that steep
So
uptick in
there
pricing?
was a significant period of time, about 8 years ago, where Chicago increased their rates 25%. So almost in aggregate, almost 100% increase over a very short period of time, which
How does that
was-
compare to like other,
So we pay $4.54 per 1,000 gallons. Evanston sells water to the Northwest Water Commission at less than $1 per 1,000 gallons.
what about like other
CLC.
major cities, like how are they seeing increases across the country, or is this just a Chicago problem?
I'd say this is unique to Chicago in the nature of this increase. Other cities certainly are increasing, so older cities that have to replace all their old pipes are increasing. That's different from a wholesale contract, of course, because there's a wholesale system. There's a tunnel system that's different from like the 8-inch ductile iron pipes that have to be replaced. So there's a little bit of a disparity there that has to be understood. So I will say that this situation, I think, is somewhat unique to Chicago.
That, I guess, is my concern. I mean, I definitely appreciate what you're saying. It's like duplication of efforts, but at the same time, I don't want to put DuPage residents in a situation where we're tied to the Chicago administration, which we know is having budgetary issues right now. And if they've already done this to us and increasing these rates so dramatically, and now they know that we're tied to them forever and ever, amen, what's going to prevent them from continuing those ridiculous increases?
And that's my fault.
Okay.
We had a chart of showing Chicago's rate and then breaking it down for different routes. I had Paul take it out for time, but it shows that we're gonna overpay by, I don't know.
You'd overpay by about $500 million over an 8-year period of time.
8-year period.
So what I'm
And over
gonna-
over the time of the contract, we're talking billions and billions of dollars.
So maybe you can add that slide back in and then send it to us as a committee, and then we can view it all, and then we can discuss next time, because we have to get these votes in before we lose quorum. So I want to move on, and I know Member Guston, if you could just hold your question till other old business, okay. I want to move on to 7A, which was the recommendation to, it's for PWR 000423, recommendation to approve the water purchase and sale agreement between the DuPage Water Commission and the County of DuPage, Illinois. And this is an extension or, okay, for 15 to 20 years? I
No,
think?
this is the one that's 40 years that all of the customers are approving. This is the agreement between us and the Water Commission.
Okay,
The second one is just concurring to give them time, 15 to 20 years, to continue that agreement. They will continue negotiations. Everybody's talked about, they're exploring both options. Nothing is closed as of these votes today.
perfect.
They're exploring everything.
Okay, thank you. So can I have a motion?
Second.
Second. And,
I'm not on committee.
you're not, no, you're not.
Second.
Second. I was just gonna go, wait, you're not ready, because I found. Okay, so got a motion to second. Any discussion? No, we've had that. All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion to approve PWR 000523, recommendation for concurrence of an extension of the water supply contract between DuPage Water Commission and the City of Chicago. Can I have a motion?
So moved.
Second.
Motion to second. Any discussion? We've already had that. All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposition? Okay, that motion carries. Okay, moving on to budget transfers, I want to motion to combine 8A, 8B, and 8C. A motion? A motion, okay, second. And we've got, so all in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Okay, perfect. So budget transfer 23-3542. Facilities management grounds, 17,000 budget transfer to cover grounds regular salaries. Funds will move from account 1,01102 to 5,010 overtime in the amount of $10,000 from account 1,01102 54130 construction and other motor equipment in the amount of 4,000 and from account 1,01102 52270 maintenance supplies in the amount of 3,000 to account 1,01102 5,000 regular salaries for a total of 17,000. 8B, 23-3543, Public Works, transfer of funds from account number 2000-2665-54070, water waste system infrastructure to account number 2000-2665-54080, water distribution system infrastructure for the water consumer portal of the amount $10,500. And 8C, 23-3544, Public Works, transfer of funds from the account number 2000-255 54030 sewer and water treatment plant construction to account number 2000-2640-54080 water distribution system infrastructure for timing of the North Region Water Facility water tower painting in the amount of $430,000. Do I have a motion to approve?
So moved. Second.
Motion is second. Any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Motions carry. Motion to approve, looking for a motion to approve 23-3545 payment of claims, Public Works and Facilities Management.
So moved.
Motion, second. All those in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries. Okay, Nick, you wanted to speak a
Yeah,
little bit
I'll
on the
make it
sole
very
source?
quick here. So what you're seeing is sole source in front of you. I had a lot of talking points, but I'm gonna make it brief here. We installed a new fuel station down at Woodbridge Green Valley. It is not operating correctly. The wrong pump was designed and implemented. So I make it short and sweet. We have to make this change in order for it to work effectively. We need it up and running before the snow season. And we are talking to our state's attorney to explore all options after it's approved and built. At that point to recoup the costs for this retrofit. But it's important, we must get this thing up and running before the snow season.
This is not the original contract.
This is it is the original contractor, but realize the problem may be in design, not necessarily construction.
Right, might be with engineering.
Okay.
Okay, can I get a motion to approve 23-3546 recommendation for the approval of a contract to Metro Tank and Pipe Company to remove and retrofit the Public Works fuel station pump and dispenser at the Woodridge Green Valley wastewater treatment for the period of November 7th, 2023 to November 30th, 2024 for a total contract amount not to exceed $29,995. Got a motion and a second. Any discussion other than that? No, all in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Okay, motion is carried. Bid renewal, 11A, looking for a motion to approve FMP 0086-23, recommendation for the approval of a contract to Valdez Supply to furnish and deliver restroom tissue and paper towels to judicial office facility, JTK Administrative Building and Jail on a monthly basis as needed and for the Power Plant Children's Center, Office of Emergency Management, and the Coroner's Office for facilities management for the period of December 1st, 2023 through November 30th, 2024, for a total contract amount not to exceed $123,397.52.
So moved.
Motion,
Second.
okay, got a motion to second, any discussion, all those in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed, motion carries. Looking for a motion to approve professional services agreement, PWP 004423, recommendation for the approval of an agreement between the county of DuPage, Illinois, and Christopher B. Burke Engineering Limited for an on-call professional engineering services for water system design and construction management and Lake Michigan water allocation for various regions around DuPage County for public works for the period of November 14, 2023 to November 30, 2026, for a total contract amount not to exceed $95,000.
Second.
Motion second, all those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed, motion carries. Looking for a motion to approve PWP 004523, recommendation for the approval of an agreement between the county of DuPage, Illinois, and Fairgraham for an on-call professional engineering services for an on-needed basis for wastewater treatment process control and infrastructure for the period of November 14, 2023 to November 30, 2025, for a total contract amount not to exceed $95,000.
So moved.
Motion seconds, all, let's see, any discussion, all those in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed, motion carries. Motion to approve, I'm looking for a motion to approve FMP 008723. Recommendation for the approval of an agreement between the county of DuPage, Illinois, and Gerke Technology Group for professional water treatment consulting and management services for facilities management for the 4-year period of December 1st, 2023 through November 30th, 2027, for a contract of a total not to exceed $116,973.60. This is for the needed chemicals so the pipes don't corrode, so we definitely need this. I'm gonna motion in a second. All those in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries. And last but not least, can I get a motion to approve PWP 004623, recommendation for the approval of agreement between the county of DuPage, Illinois, and Trotter Associates Inc. for non-call professional engineering services on an as-need basis for wastewater treatment plant permitting and reporting for public works for the period of November 14, 2023 to November 30, 2025, for a total contract amount not to I think it says to something, $95,000. Exceed. I thought that's what it's supposed to say, right? Not to exceed. I'm saying it, not to exceed $95,000. Can I get a motion?
Second.
Okay, all those in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries. Any old business? Any new business? I motion to adjourn.
Here's some water.
Wow, impressive.
Did I say that fast enough?